All right, now that you've built your first web page, it's time to learn how to use the developer tools. So this video is going to be for anyone who's using a Chromium-based browser. So basically, if you're using Google Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, most popular browsers, your chances are you're using a Chromium-based browser. So the way you access your developer tools on a Chromium-based browser is you'll click on the screen and you'll hit Command Option I if you're on a Mac, or you'll hit Control Shift I if you're on a Windows. The other way you can access it is you can double click or right click if you're on a Windows into the center of the window and you can click Inspect, and that will pop up this tab right here. For most of you, this tab was probably docked to the right-hand panel like this when you first viewed it. I don't like mine there, so I like to move it to the bottom. The way you do that is you'll click these three dots right here, and then I will dock it to the bottom. And now my developer tools are where I want them. So let's talk about the different tabs. Let me zoom in real quick on my console. All right, so the first tab that we're going to talk about is the Elements tab. Here in the Elements tab, you can see it actually pulled in our HTML exactly as we typed it. And as we hover around, you'll see that it highlights on screen the part of the HTML that we're hovering over. We use the Elements tab when we're trying to understand how our HTML is working and how our CSS is working. So if we open up the body tag, we can actually edit this on the live website and see what changes would look like. This won't actually change the code, but it'll allow us to test code without having to constantly flip back and forth between windows. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just change hello world, and I'm going to double click into it, and I'm going to change it to say hello moon. And then as soon as I click off, you can see it updated on screen. If I reload the page, it goes back to the original HTML that we wrote. And so I was able to test some HTML really quickly and just determine if that solved my problem. That is the main reason you'll use the Elements tab. We probably won't use the Elements tab a lot in this course because this is a JavaScript course and not an HTML or CSS course. But I wanted you to be aware that this tab was here. The tab where we will spend most of our time is the console tab. So this here is your console. And in here, you can type whatever you want. This is where all of your JavaScript errors are going to show up. So if you write code that doesn't work and you don't know why it's not working, the console tab is the best tab to check. So I'm just going to type a bunch of gibberish and hit enter, and it says uncaught reference error. And if you don't understand what that means, don't worry. I'm just showing you that this is a place where you will see errors with your code. It's also a place where you can test your JavaScript. So if I want to test my JavaScript skills, if you think back to the video where I talked about what programming is, I showed you how to type the hello world message in JavaScript. I'm going to just type that line right here, right now, and it's going to say console.log, and then in parentheses, I'm going to type hello world. Close parentheses, close my quotation marks, close my parentheses, and hit enter. And you'll see that as soon as I did this, it said console.log hello world. And right below where I typed that code, it wrote the message hello world. If you were following along, you have successfully written your first JavaScript. Congratulations. So the main reasons we use the console is to find our JavaScript errors and to test JavaScript. On the sources tab, we're not going to talk much about this. I want you to be aware of it because when we get to debugging, this is a tab you'll want to look at. But it basically just shows you all of the files that are associated with your project. And we will use this a lot more when we get to the debugging section. The last tab I want to show you is the network tab. And for this tab, I do need to expand the window a bit. But when you reload your page, your network tab will show you all of the files that your computer requested to run this page. So if you are requesting styles for the page, if you're requesting images for the page, if you're requesting videos for the page, all of them will show up here. And the main thing to notice here is the status codes. If you've taken a course that talks about status codes, fantastic. If you haven't taken a course that talks about status codes, the thing I want you to remember is red equals bad. So the network tab is what I use when something isn't loading properly on my page. So if I've written a website and then an image isn't loading, then I'll come over here to the network tab and make sure that it doesn't highlight the image in red. If it's highlighted the image in red, it means it cannot find my image, and I need to locate that image so that it can show up on the website. So for the network tab, you use it if something isn't loading on your website. For the sources tab, you use it for when you're debugging. For the console tab, it's where you're going to see all of your error messages and it's where you can test your JavaScript. And for the elements tab, it's when you want to test your HTML and your CSS and you want to understand how the page is set up. I hope that helps you understand the developer tools. Thanks for watching.